Welcome to our second round of debugging. So we have this hair salon from last time. It's been augmented a little bit, so let's run it and see what's changed since our latest version. Basically, I've gone in and I've broken it. At this point, this code is totally riddled with bugs. We're going to find a couple of them in this and future videos, but you should grab this code and chase down more on your own. So all of this is printing out, and we can see how it corresponds with the code from our main class. And if we read through, we can see a few problems. So first, we make a customer, we book the customer, we verify the booking, but then we see Elisa, the customer, doesn't think she's booked at that time. Then we have a new piece of functionality that lets us change a booking, but again, the customer doesn't change their booking. And the booking doesn't look like it's changing, because here it says there's no customer booked at that time, and also, sure enough, here it says the original time. Then it says, making a new customer called Elisa, and we're not quite sure why that's happening, but we can see we're trying to find a new booking by name. So both these printouts must be happening over here when we call confirm booked name. And something's going wrong, and we're not finding our booking for Elisa. And then we see all the bookings for the day, and Elisa is booked at the wrong time because we wanted her to be booked at 13. Whew. Okay, so what are we going to chase down first? Let's chase down this bug that Elisa doesn't confirm her new booking. Now, there's been another structural change to this, and that is that the customer now has a notion of the booked time. So the customer is keeping track for themselves when they're booked, which sets us up for having this back and forth relationship between the hair salon and the customer, which is actually more natural and matches reality a lot better. So let's imagine what might be causing this problem. There are maybe 3 hypotheses that jump out at me. First, we might be retrieving and therefore reporting the booking incorrectly. In other words, the booking exists, but we're not reporting it right. So to test that out, what we would do is put a breakpoint in confirm booking, assuming the error was in there. The second hypothesis is that the method for actually setting the field isn't working. So we're making the booking properly, and we're trying to set the field, but the field is not being saved, kind of like what we saw before in the constructor. And to chase down that hypothesis, we would put a breakpoint in the setter in set book time. And the final option is that we're forgetting to set the field entirely. We're never calling back to the customer to set the field. And to chase down this one, we would look in make new booking. So those are the 3 possibilities. If you have a field that's not seeming to be changed, either it's printing it out wrong, or the changing itself is wrong, or you're forgetting to change it entirely. So let's start by investigating this first hypothesis, that we're retrieving the value incorrectly. We'll put a breakpoint in confirm booking. Let's run our debugger and start stepping in. So we've got our objects here. Elisa has her book time of 0. And let's step into confirm booking. We can see our current object is customer with the name Elisa, which all seems fine. And the confirmation is saying, confirming I'm booked at that time. And the book time is still 0. So it's not that we're returning the wrong thing. It seems like the value of book time was never actually changed. So the problem is not in here. Hypothesis 1 has been disproven. Let's stop execution and go chase down hypothesis 2, that the method for setting the field isn't working. That means we have to go into the customer and look at the setter for the booked time. Now, I was going to put a breakpoint here, but what I can actually see is that this method is gray, which means it's never actually called. So clearly, our bug isn't coming from this method not working properly because this method is never actually used. So we've quite quickly disproven hypothesis number 2. Hypothesis number 3 is that the problem is in make booking, that we're never actually setting the field, and this would explain why we're never even calling set book time. So this seems like it's probably the right hypothesis, but we still need to confirm it. So we'll step into here, we've got our array list, and we're making this new booking, and now we want to step into here and see what's going on. So we've got customer 440, that's Elisa, booked at time 12, and we're saying booking.addBooking at this booking time. And here's the customer. Great. So we can step over this and see that booking time has been added. Now there's a customer sitting at time 12. However, we can see that our customer Elisa still has a book time of 0. So we're never setting the customer's book time. So we'll stop execution and add c.setBookTime to booking time. And now if we rerun the code, Elisa should know what time she's booked at. And now she knows, confirming that I'm booked at 12. Elisa's time is changing from 12 to 13. But then, confirming that I am booked at 12. Oh no, so there's still a bug in there. We haven't solved all our problems. The next problem is that the booking isn't changing. So on to bug number 2. We've got this call in main to change booking, but it's clearly not working. So let's form our hypothesis for what might be happening here. Hypothesis 1. The validation could be wrong. It could be that the customer was booked at that time, but that method isn't working. That would be strange because it worked for the earlier case. And we can see in the printed out list that the booking hasn't actually changed. So I think we can immediately discard this hypothesis. It is not that the validation is wrong. The second option is that the rebooking isn't happening correctly. So the change for some reason just isn't taking place. So to test this, we'll set a breakpoint in change booking and see if the parameters are coming in correctly and whether the booking list is being saved correctly. So let's go in and put in the breakpoint into change booking, and then we run it. And we can see all of our state here. The hair salon exists and the customer exists and there's a booking for Elisa at time 12, which is perfect. That's exactly the right state. And here we see customer is 4:40, that's me, and the new time is 13. And now we're saying get the booking time for customer. And the book time is 12. That was the original time. And so now we've got the customer's current time. We know when the customer was booked originally. And now we print something out that says we're changing from the book time, ... Then we do some calculations, and then it says to the next book time. So book time is 12, and now we're going to change it to 13. So we've changed the book time. But if you look inside the customer, the book time is still 12. So what you've actually done is you've made a local copy of the book time. You've copied it into a little local integer, which is going to completely die when we get to the bottom of this method. And we have not actually changed the value inside of the customer object itself. So we've made a local change, not a change on the object we were trying to affect. This is actually a really common bug, especially when you're just starting programming with objects. You'll change a little local variable instead of changing a field. The reason the booking wasn't being changed is because you can see what's happening here. By saying book time equals new time, we'd actually made them the same thing. So the book time was 13, and now the new time is also 13. So all we're doing is moving the customer into the new time, slot 13, and then setting slot 13 to null. We can actually watch that happen. So this has all gone terribly wrong, and it's all because of this one line of code, book time equals new time. So we stop execution, and we'll comment out this line of code so that we don't forget our shame. And we want instead to say customer.setBookTime new time. So now everything should work correctly. So let's debug our way over to here, and we see our customer come in, the new time is 13, the booked time is 12, we're printing the message, we're setting the new time to be the customer. Briefly, there are 2 customer 440s, Elisa, in the list, and then we set the old one to be null. Great, work achieved. So we have one more bug to chase down, and we can find that in main as well, and that is where we want to find me by name, and it says no, we can't. You might wonder why there's this additional functionality to find something by name, not just by object, but you can imagine if you were in a salon, you wouldn't want to have to create a new object every time you found someone's booking. So this is kind of the functionality that covers off that use case. So everything seems like it's working. Elisa's sitting in the right place in the list, but we can't find me by name. So how come? Here in confirm book name, we're doing the search for my name. So let's make some hypotheses. 1, there's no customer booked for that name because it's been taken out for some reason. Maybe we accidentally killed that element in the array. 2, it might be that we're looking for the wrong booking. That means that we would have to set a breakpoint inside confirm book name and make sure everything is lining up. And then the third option is that we're retrieving the name wrong. The booking is in the list and we're looking for the right name, but something is going wrong in connecting the two. And again, we'll need a breakpoint in confirm booked name. So to chase down hypothesis 1, if we set a breakpoint right before the call to confirm book name and debug, we can see what's coming in and we can see that there's a booking for Elisa, and Elisa even agrees. They both say the book time is 13. So that is not the problem. We have killed hypothesis number 1. The problem isn't that there's no booking. So on to hypothesis number 2. To do that, we'll kill the execution and set a breakpoint right at the beginning of confirm booked name. And we'll see if there's a typo in the parameters or if anything strange is happening there. So here we have our bookings and our booking time, and we have our booked customer. And we can see that all the parameters are coming in correctly. The names are all Elisa. So hypothesis 2 is also disproven. We're definitely looking for the right customer, so that is not the issue. So now let's keep going to test hypothesis 3 to see if the person just isn't being found correctly. So we're setting this new variable booked customer to be the customer at the given time. And then we're doing this interesting thing where we make a new customer named Elisa. That's why we get that printout, making new customer. And you might be wondering why we're doing that, and it's because you have to compare things of the same type. You can't compare strings to ints, you can't compare hair salons to customers, and you can't compare customers to strings. So if we want to compare the string Elisa to the customer whose name is also Elisa, there are lots of things that we can do. But one of them that's often done is make a new dummy customer or a dummy object with the same field of the value that you're looking for. So in this case, we're making a new person, also called Elisa. And then we run a check, is person booked? And this will produce a Boolean value based on booked person equals named customer. And what we're hoping to do there is compare to see if these two people have the same name. But in fact, what we're doing is comparing the people themselves. And even though these objects have the same name, they're two different objects. So this is going to return false, even though intuitively we would expect it to return true. So we found our bug. And now we need to come up with a different way of comparing these people because we want to compare their names, not their object references. So first, let's isolate the name of the customer. Let's save that out. So string customer name equals booked customer dot get name. Then we want to compare the customer name to the name that's coming in. So we want to say that the value person is booked equals customer name dot equals CNAME, because dot equals is actually the proper way to compare values of objects as opposed to comparing their object references. So let's see if this works better. This should now return true if the two names are the same. So let's rerun our code and see if we found me. And sure enough, we did. We found all three of our bugs.